Thank you everyone for coming back to, this is the 5th episode now of the Quantum Buddha podcast. Happy very much so to still be doing this many months later, and absolutely elated to invite our two guests tonight who will be sharing some magic and wisdom with us. So I'd like to introduce, this is Luke Scott and Ben Laing. I'd like you both to just introduce yourselves a little bit and tell me about each of yourselves. But let me just remind everyone, the Quantum Buddha podcast is focused on speaking about the topics of science, spirituality, self-mastery, and sex.
All the quantum goodness.
So love to introduce Luke Scott, if you'd like to talk about who you are and what brought you here today.
Can I just say before that, that's why I was getting naked before this.
Yeah, I'm excited now. Didn't know that's what we were talking about. My journey over the last 8 years has been a lot around those four things you just mentioned, those four S's, and really figuring out who I am, like truly peeling away all of the layers of stories of who people have told me to be and what society had told me to be. And I wrote a book called Find Your Truth, and it's real beautiful dive into what truth is, because everyone's truth is slightly different. And how do we be our fullest selves in the world when people are telling you, no, you can't do that, you're too much of this, you're too much of that, and being brave enough to just shine and say, hey everyone, here I am. And I've had a beautiful career in the corporate world, and then became a healer, public speaker, and now I teach quantum healing. And this is so beautiful for me because so many people in the world are suffering right now, and we have tools that can help them. It's how do we get those tools into the mainstream when the mainstream is scared of them? We have to find a way to get people to be open to healing. So I'm really excited to talk about that today. And I'm an open book, so feel free to ask anything, and let's go super deep. And everyone who's tuning in as well, if you have any questions or comments, you can write them underneath, and we'll come back to them after the podcast too.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, Luke. Really, really great to hear what you're bringing today. And we'll go much deeper into many of these topics. So, Ben, I know you're a returning member of the podcast, but I'll give you a chance to reintroduce yourself and reinvent yourself today.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what I said the last time. It's always different. So I'm very much an entrepreneur. I had an entrepreneurial dad, and I really didn't fit into school. So I didn't fit into the boxes I was put into, and never really connected with societal structures from a young age, and didn't realise, I used to think there was something wrong with me, but now I realise it's my superpower to be different and to show other people how to do the same, very much like Luke's mission. And just using these strengths and powers and things that I've found that I'm good at in entrepreneurship, and being free from being in any type of system, creating my own sort of style, my own life by design, and showing my kids and I enjoy going into schools and teaching young children. I have a good connection with, I've got a fourth kid on the way. I really like helping children because I think I was really lucky to have a father figure in my life, and someone who showed me how to be different. I didn't realise how different my dad was from a young age, so it wasn't until I was in my 20s where I realised that what he was different from the norm, and I sort of was influenced by my dad from a young age. I was not influenced by school. I didn't enjoy school. I was ready to get out of school. So once I finally got out of school, college, jobs, and found my place in the world, which was entrepreneurship, where I had a room like this that I'm in and freedom to do and create what I want, that's when I really started to develop and do amazing things, building teams, building businesses, helping people, mentoring people, coaching people. And that's a background of who I am. And I just want to be a good example for people, for especially like young people as well, children as well as adults who haven't yet found their place in the world, and anyone who can relate to my story. That's why I like sharing my story and coming on podcasts like this. Anyone who can relate to that idea of not fitting in at school or not fitting in a career, and realizing the alternative approach to life.
Wow, that was really interesting to hear how you reinvented yourself today. You made it, sharing different pieces of yourself each time. I love that. That's that's kind of the magic of why I like to keep this podcast a little bit unstructured. I want to see, what do you have to say? What do you have to bring to the table today? How would you like to serve the world today differently? It's always fun to play differently. So I've actually just realized, listening to the both of you speak, that I've never really introduced myself on this podcast, just assuming that everyone listening will know who I am. And I just thought it was obvious for me to introduce myself as well. What would I say? So my name is Virr Haria, and I would say I'm a digital nomad. I spent the last year traveling around Canada, America, and South America, just on a journey that I wanted to do, to go and see the world, to go and travel around the Americas. It was very much a journey of figuring out what's important to me, and figuring, a little bit of bucket listing as well. I went to some beautiful places, like the Amazon rainforest, that were very incredible, very spiritual experiences as well. And I also spent a lot of time in the last 7-8 years or so learning about spirituality, learning about self-mastery, learning different modalities that could help me. And I've learned a lot from Luke and from Ben as well. So I'm very grateful to have you both here today. So that's a little bit about me, but let's talk about the topic today. So we're going to talk a little bit about the topic. What are we talking about today? And then we'll do a guided meditation, which Luke has graciously agreed to do for us. So what we want to talk about today was the idea of what is healing. So I'd just like both of you to just give me your kind of understanding, your first sort of impression. What does that mean? What is healing to you? I'll let you start, Luke.
Yeah, so I actually don't like the word healing very much. It's not one of my favorite words, and I don't really like to call myself a healer, although I do that because it's something that people can relate to. One of the challenges I have with calling myself a healer is that if that is my embodiment of who I am, then in order for me to be that, there always have to be people that need healing. And it kind of creates this cycle where someone must be in need of a healer, otherwise I can't be that. So for people who understand what I do more deeply, I call myself an activator. I call myself a quantum activator and a DNA activator, and I awaken people to their highest potential. But often what that means is we have to go and heal their wounds. We have to go and really look at their traumas, their bad habits, the things that are locked in, because your body, your cells, they hold memories. And I just had a client today who's got anxiety trapped in her body, and it's this deep fear of an experience she had where she almost died, and that fear has now lived in her body for years, and it stops her from living her fullest truth because she's scared this same thing might happen again. And so how do we help someone who's in that place to release that, remove it, clear it, so they can then be free from that thing, because it's not going to happen again. It was a one-off. And I see with my daughters, I have 2 young daughters, I see the similar thing happens. Someone says something to them, they make it this meaning that they then hold on to, this thought pattern, and you can create a fear in someone in a moment. So I love helping people to let go of fears, let go of anxiety, depression, physical health issues. I had a client today who has constipation, right? IBS is a massive thing a lot of people suffer with. The doctors don't tell you how to heal it. They don't, because they don't know, because they don't go into these emotional causes of it. They don't look at, okay, what's happening in your life right now? Where are you stressed? Where are you challenged? Where can we bring more flow and ease and joy into your life? So healing for me is an ongoing journey. I prefer the term of upgrading, activating, awakening to your fullest potential. And then when you focus on that, I'm super happy for there always to be people who are looking to be activated, who are always looking to be awakened, who are always looking to be upgraded. And when someone comes to me who is in deep distress, they can often be a challenging person to work with. And it takes a real strong person to sit with someone who's deep in depression. I had some clients last month who were suicidal, to sit with those people who don't even want to be here. Maybe they're deep in addictions. And it's a beautiful thing that we can all do. Every single one of you who's listening now, you are a healer in some way. That's my truth anyway. You can choose to take that on if you choose to. You've been healing people your whole life. You're probably the person that your friends open up to. That you probably always say, oh, people just tell me things. They never normally tell other people. It's like we've been trained our whole lives to be these amazing space holders. So I'm excited to dive into it and see what we can unpack around healing today, because it's been a wonderful exploration for me so far.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. It's really interesting to kind of dive into that idea, like you said, of upgrading, activating, the quantum side of it as well. I really love that you brought that in, because we do love to talk about science as well. So as much as I love spirituality, I know that I would say that I was kind of raised as a scientist as such, to look at things with a scientific mind. And so when I can find connections between the two, connections between the scientific sort of physical look at the world and the spiritual look at the world that looks at the other dimensions, the other planes of reality, that really helps me to, number one, understand it more, but also number two, explain it better, because I really love understanding this stuff. And I know some friends that, for example, they don't look at the spiritual side at all. And I know that I am much more easily accepting of the spiritual side, but I love to learn how to be able to speak in other people's languages, and communicate, help them understand, in a way that they're ready to hear, basically.
Yeah, I'm a big geek. I'm a big physics geek. I love all things quantum mechanics, and I love sitting with people because I used to be atheist until 8 years ago. I was completely atheist, completely left-brained. Then I had this awakening experience, and my whole life changed. And I love sitting with people who are still in that atheist place, and I ask them what they believe in, and they just use the same word, different words to describe the same thing. One of my friends, he's like, I believe there's this like universal intelligence, that guides everything. And I'm like, that's spiritual. It's like there's a consciousness, there's something. Like we're talking about the same thing, brother. It's really fun for me.
Yeah, Ben and I have definitely talked about the idea. I think, Ben, you've read a few different holy books, and you've had some interesting conclusions from that, based on your understanding. I'll let you talk as well. What's healing for you, and talk a bit more about this topic.
Yeah, I don't resist the word healing. It's not something I've considered. It's not a word I've pondered on that much, to be honest. But the things that came to my head with that is health, like having a healthy body. I think so many people are intoxicated with just so much junk from food, processed food. That's been a huge part of my healing. Like, I'm just taking it from my own experience, what I think of when I think of healing and my health journey. Obviously, Luke and I have had a conversation about food, and Luke being a fruitarian, and I've tested a lot of different foods and cut out a lot of foods. The main foods that I've cut out is like processed foods that are just man-made, really, and been through such a process. So I try and eat whole foods in general and organic, and I eat a lot of fruits myself, but I do still eat meat and vegetables, but the first step in me and my sort of healing has been food, and replacing really processed foods with whole foods that come just from the earth, rather than something that's been through a process to turn into something that we package up and call food. So I've been avoiding a lot of that, and I've been through a huge healing process, and my energy levels are so much higher, and that's the result of healing your body, is having energy. The whites of my eyes have become so much whiter. The skin's like more moisturized and a tan instead of burn, things like that. So just being physically healthy by eating what we're meant to eat is a huge part of like the physical side of healing for me. But obviously the other side of it is the mental side, the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual. There's all these aspects of areas that can be healed. All the 3-4 different parts to ourselves that we are. And I think like my journey, I'm not complete, but I've done some quantum regression 1-to-1 with Luke. You and I, Virr, we've done lots of stuff with Ryan Pinnock and Super Genius. We're at mastery level with that, and we practice it every Sunday. We call it Conscious Conversations, and just hypnotherapy, lots of different types of modalities, and all of that has helped me with the emotional traumas that we had to dig up from our childhood and from the past. So that is like the end result of that is being more peaceful. Like there would have been a time where I would have been nervous to be on this podcast, but I don't feel that now. Like it's gone. That energy is gone, and that's healing to me, is being able to just be yourself and be relaxed and be at peace and not feel nervous and anxious and feel those ups and downs so strongly. And I think that for a little while when I was out of alignment, I was just riding the process of the emotions, the ups and downs, and letting them sort of control me. But now I've been through a long journey, especially the last year. I've been doing some cold water therapy as well, and doing an ice bath every morning, and that has been a game changer for me, because it's taught me that I'm in control of my body, not the other way around. And every morning I make my body go into that ice bath to prove to myself that I'm in control, not the other way around. And that's been a huge part of my healing journey as well, is being able to control the body and do what I want to do, and not do what I don't want to do, and being able to have that control over my mind and my body is hugely healing, because it allows me in other situations to tell my body it's okay, to control my body and to control my thoughts, and calm the thoughts in the body and the feelings down, and direct them in a different way. But yeah, a couple other words that came to my head is, like, similar to Lucas said, progress, giving yourself power, and confidence. For me, that's been a big part of healing, is low confidence and low self-esteem after school and things, and then coming into like the entrepreneurial world and working on my personal development and building self-confidence, like real unshakable sort of confidence that no one can change. And then on top of that, just how many things we're addicted to as well. I think a lot of healing, in a summary like of all of that, I think a lot of healing is removing things instead of like just learning new stuff. It's a lot of like weeding, we call it in Super Genius, weeding the ego, weeding the baggage, the trauma, the limiting beliefs and things that are in our mind from past experiences that just, like you say, get stuck in the body. So it's taking that out, getting it out of you, and dropping the baggage, like the hot air balloon example of all the lead being in the basket of the hot air balloon. and the lead is the thing that holds us down, and that's the stuff that we need to get out to let our hot air, like, to fly away, to float. And all that lead is the baggage, and that sort of is what we need to heal through by getting rid of all of that. That's what comes to my mind when I think about healing.
Thank you. I love that you brought the physical health and the emotional kind of side of it into as well, because the physical journey is something that I've been working on for a long time, and I feel like I am finally on what I think is the right path. I feel like I've got just a level of consistency that I haven't had before, and what it feels a little bit like now, like things are a little bit effortless, and they've been a bit more challenging this week, funnily enough, but in general I've heard this phrase of like healing is actually not anything other than just relaxing into being yourself. And I really love that idea that, it's like you said, like with the hot air balloon analogy, you're actually getting rid of those traumas, you're getting rid of those emotional trapped emotions, that hold you down, and you're just allowing yourself to be yourself. Like you said, you're relaxed today being on this podcast. I'm feeling relaxed hosting this podcast as well, where I definitely felt a lot more nervous the first time I did it. And I think for me, really, it's that kind of combination of a lot of what both of you have said. Is you've got the different aspects to your reality. You've got the physical side, your body and everything. You've got the mental side, your mind and kind of mind over matter, sort of your thoughts, that side of it, being able to realize that you are not your thoughts, being able to take a step back from your thoughts like you do in meditations and just watch them go past and say, okay, that's just the thought that's appearing. It's not, who I am. It doesn't define me. And then also the emotional side, which is another plane. And it's, like I really think a lot about the fact that we can only see the visible light part of the electromagnetic spectrum. I was talking about this. I went to the Science Museum last weekend, and it just really makes me feel like there's so much more to this world that we literally just don't actually see. And we have detectors and scanners, like that can detect radar and X-rays and whatever it's called. But how much more is out there that we just don't even know, and that we can't experience because our physical bodies are limited in such way that we're just limited to these five senses. So, my point is the thoughts that you have, they exist somewhere. Even though you can't see your thoughts, they're there. They're real. Same with your emotions. Like when you feel really, really sad or really, really happy, or nervous, for example, that is really causing a physical reaction in your body. But even without, like before the physical reaction, you feel it inside you. You might get the physical reaction, let's say if you're nervous, of clammy hands, but you have the actual feeling of nervousness, and that, so really what I'm trying to say is, we've got these different layers to our reality and they impact each other. Your thoughts create your actions, and your actions create your reality, and your emotions drive your thoughts. That's where it all comes from, I think. So that's why I think it's so important to be able to release those trapped emotions and experience your emotions in their full amount without actually trying to downplay them, without trying to escape them as well. That's a big thing. Another aspect of healing is actually just allowing yourself to feel the emotion that's there. If it's fear, if it's anger, if it's happiness, if it's sadness, whatever the feeling is just actually allowing yourself to experience that feeling, and live it rather than escape it. Because I think a lot of what we have in the modern world is designed to help you escape your feelings. A lot of TV and social media and food as well. Like this is something that I am guilty of as well, for sure. Maybe drinking to escape my emotions, or eating too much food to escape my emotions. Not saying that all drinking or all eating is escaping your emotions, but definitely overconsumption is something that is really prevalent, and in my life as well, something that I'm trying to move away from this year. Screens as well in general. So yeah, that's kind of how I look at healing. It's how do these different aspects of reality impact each other, and what do I need to focus on?
This idea as well that you said about the things you can't see. This was actually my entry into quantum healing. I was at an event, it was a conscious relationships event all about polarity and masculine, feminine energy. And this guy walked up to me and he said, "Were you abandoned when you were a child?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Something about your mum and the hospital." I said, "Yeah, I was sent away to a psychiatric hospital when I was a child." And he said, you need to work on that." And then he just walked off. And I was flabbergasted because I'd never told people this. Like, I didn't even tell my girlfriend this. It was like, I didn't even think about it because it's a trauma, right? You don't really think about it. At the time, I wasn't aware. And I went up to him and I said, "How could you possibly know that?" He said, "I can literally see in your energy field," because he's a very sensitive person who can perceive energy. He said, "I could see the trauma energy in your energy field." He said, "I connected to that trauma energy and I followed it back." He calls it following the thread. "I followed it back and I saw this image of you and your mum at a hospital." And he says you can see people's traumas in their energy field and you can see their manifestations too. He said if someone is always manifesting a red Ferrari, you'll see it. He can literally see it in their energy field. So you have what's called a thought body, which is your non-physical body. And most people are not aware of this, but when you become very sensitive, which is what I did as a training, I went on his program and he taught me, this guy as a teach me, please. I became his apprentice and he taught me how to see more and feel more and hear more. And that's what I teach people now, because when you sit with someone, they might say certain words, but if you can actually feel what's underneath the words, you become a very powerful person. Because my wife is a prime example. If she's not happy, she'll say, "I'm fine," right? But she's not fine. But that's just like a way that she has found will end the conversation, right? And I always then can feel into what's beneath that. What is she really trying to express? And it's a beautiful thing. But it does make living in the world a little bit different because a lot of people are very guarded, call it the armor. They don't want to tell you their deepest fears and phobias and traumas. And if you can start to perceive those, he taught me when you're walking past someone on the street or when you're sat on the bus across from them, just like get quiet, get soft, and just see what you can feel. See if you can feel anything about the people. And it's this idea of merging the world between the physical world and the energetic world. Because we're physical beings, we're solid, but we're also energy beings. So yeah, if anyone's interested in that, I really, really recommend go and start opening yourself to more than just what you can see with your eyes, and find a teacher who can guide you, because it can be a bit messy if you don't know what you're doing when you start playing in the energy realms. And certainly having a good guide can save you some challenges.
Yeah, definitely. I remember when we did the Super Genius course, we were taught to be quite responsible, let's say, with that energy that we learned, to be able to perceive energy and let's say, tune in to our intuition, tune into the energy of other people. That's what a lot of the practice that we did was, especially at the start of our course, me and Ben were practicing just that idea of being able to kind of tune into each other's energies. What's obvious to me is this, and it was very similar to what you described. This guy just came up and said, here's what's obvious to me. It's really interesting because I've never heard it described as that idea of that energy body, and that what you describe with, being able to see that energy, and what's there, what's in there, and the idea of following the thread. I really love that. I've used that in the work that we do as well. So I guess for me, it's just really interesting just hearing the way that each of us has kind of come into this space, and understanding of like slightly different variations of similar ideas. It's really cool.
Yeah, I think it's like just touching on that as well. Like you said, the guy could see people's trauma field. and it's very similar to what we learned or what we practice, is we call it the ego. Really, that's like our way of Virr and I's way of sort of describing it to each other is what's when we're sharing what we see in their energy field or their traumas and things, is we just sort of introduced it in a different way. But like you're saying, we are all talking about the same thing, and we just used the word ego. What's obvious to me about your ego or your unconscious ego is, and then follow your intuition from there and tell them what you feel. It's really interesting when, like you say, when you hear it from different perspectives and different ways that people learn it, and how we all use it, but just differently, different language.
Most people just don't get quiet enough. They don't get slow enough. It's very subtle. We're so busy, and it's really beautiful when you come. And I know Super Genius really well, and you just sit with someone, face to face, heart to heart, and you just feel into them. It's very different to how most of us have been taught to live our lives.
Yeah.
You might do that in a pub by accident, but there's usually a few beers in between you.
Yeah, definitely. I remember we did the Q-RIT quantum regression session with one of the members of the community last week, and I think I said to you in a message, it just felt really effortless, and it was really just that idea of being able to hold that space, being able to tune in, slow down, like you said, to tune in to myself, tune into each other, and I felt that just like being able to be present. When you say being able to slow down, the way I describe it is being able to be present and just actually take your mind, your energy away from the idea of the future or the past, and just actually be exactly existing only in this moment, because then you can tune into that kind of energy. You can understand what's like, at least the way I look at it, you can perceive more of our reality because you are able to be with it rather than be caught up in the flow of time, let's say.
It's one of the big problems with the Western medical system as well. One of my family members is a GP. She's a medical doctor. They only get a 10-minute appointment slot with each new person. So it's someone you've never met before. You have 10 minutes to assess them, diagnose them, prescribe them. There's not a lot of time for dropping in and getting subtle with them, like trying to figure it out. And there's something we can really do. One of our missions with Q-RIT is to completely revolutionize the medical system, because they ask certain questions like, how much do you smoke? How much do you drink? But they don't have time to say, tell me about your childhood. Like, what's going on in your life right now? Is there anything that's really stressful? Because that can open up a whole can of worms, and they've only got a 10-minute slot, so they can't even open up those kind of conversations. Because if they say, my partner's actually very violent towards me, or, my dad did this to me when I was a child, they can't physically engage with you in that. And so it's missing this big piece. Then they refer you to a psychiatrist who is able to have those kind of conversations. But there's something where we can meet, East meets West, this beautiful energy medicine and this allopathic medicine. We can bring them together in this beautiful way. That's what we're looking to evolve the system into.
Yeah, it's like I've not been to the doctors in about 6 years. I'm not even signed registered to my hometown I live in right now, because like you say, it's that appointment, trying to get a slot, struggling to get a slot, because you have to call before 8 in the morning, and everyone's like sort of, there's a queue to get in, and then once you get in, like you say, you only get 15 minutes in the room with someone, and they offer you pills in most cases, and like that's not the root of the problem. If they, like you say, spent some time, I was thinking about it on like more like the health side of things as well. Like, what if the person, they sit on the sofa and they eat crisps all day, and they didn't find that out? Then they've missed something there. Like that could lead to whatever the problem is that the person's having. But if they don't spend enough time knowing the person just like in sales, I'm all about learning so much about the person. I'm just having a conversation with the person before I try and offer them any solutions, because I don't know what they're trying to like. I don't know what their problem is. Until I know what their problems are, I can't make something sound beneficial to them until I know how, in their language, what they describe the problem is. And the information gathering part of sales, just like being a doctor or a healer, is so important, because you can't get to the root of it until you can present it back to them where it resonates.
People can only tell you what their logical mind knows as well. So they're only going to give you an answer based on what their logic mind perceives. And they don't often know how to go to the deeper root cause of things. So this is like the key. How do we get to the root cause of it? What's the thing we need to change or shift or release or remove or upgrade? Like, what is that? And that's what I find really, really juicy, because once you find that, everything changes.
Yep. And like you said, it doesn't exist in the conscious mind at all. It's Ver and I were doing our conscious conversations a week ago, and we dug into my past and something that was coming up. Obviously, we were aware of consciously, but it came from like a car accident that I'd totally forgotten about, like you say, and I totally put that accident, car crash, behind me. But when we dug into it deeper, the tears started coming, like the emotions started coming out, and just realizing how I was 4 or 5 years old, that like how long ago that was, that if you don't go and address and go deeper into the root, like you say, then you sort of just put that behind you and don't bring it up again. And people, like you say, are scared to bring it up again. But you're what you're doing and what we do is amazing, because you're able to go back there, find out how it's showing itself up today as adults, and cure it.
Yeah, and you really mentioned something quite important, which is that idea of creating that space. I think ultimately one thing that I have learned to come to understand is none of this healing or activating or upgrading can be accomplished without creating that space to say, okay, it's safe to feel those emotions. It's safe to go back to that place because we're going to heal it. And we have this space where it's okay to feel those things. And that's so, so important. And I also just wanted to bring up, I just realized we've been talking for such a long time because I've just been enjoying this conversation, but I would absolutely love to create that space now and have Luke guide us on a meditation.
It would be my absolute pleasure. So, everyone who is tuning in, I've been guiding people on meditations now for 8 years. I teach meditation, and it's been one of my greatest tools in my healing and upgrading journey. And if you have not yet dived into meditation, it doesn't have to be what you think it is, sitting there for an hour like a monk. It doesn't have to be that. I started off with this app called Headspace, and it was these 10-minute meditations, very short, helping you just to unravel the mind, just unravel the nervous system, just relax. And it was so beautiful. And you would find these moments of peace. And I know, Ben, you talked about peace. That's what's in my heart now. That's my default now. And I thank meditation for that mostly. Meditation and quantum healing, helping me to just realize that so much of what was weighing me down, that lead in the balloon, those weights, it's not even real. It's just a story. It's a story. And if you've ever thought about this before, or even if you haven't, this is pretty mind blowing. You are the only person in your world that will keep telling that story in your head. Only you. You get to choose if it's an empowering story or a disempowering story. Only you. No one else is going to change it. That's it. And so when we go into this process today, this is your invitation, like Virr said, to relax into who you are. Just relax into the fullness of who you are. And we're going to do about 10 minutes. If anyone would like to do a longer process, Virr is going to pop a link underneath for a completely free quantum healing session that I offer. Every single one of you can come and do it, enjoy it, plug in whatever thing you have that you want to heal or upgrade. And everything's about intention. So I'd love for you to take a breath deep into the belly and out. And if it feels right, if it's safe to do so, you can close down your eyes. Obviously not if you're driving. And when your eyes are closed, you get less distractions in, so you can really focus more on your energy and your beingness. And I'd love to invite you to feel what it feels like to be really grounded. Just breathe into the belly, soften, relax. Feel what it feels like to be really grounded, really connected. When you breathe out, notice that on the out breath, you get this little moment of peace. Just see next time you take a deep breath in and out. Just observe that little moment of nothingness. This is a beautiful place to create from, a blank canvas. And you can train yourself to make this your default. You can come back and redo this process many times as you would like. Feeling that feeling of being fully present. And when we look at using Q-RIT and quantum meditation, we're looking at this realm of infinite possibilities. In the quantum realm, all things are possible. Time doesn't exist in the way that you think it does. It's just this one now moment, and everything is happening in some other place. That's quantum physics. And we can tune into these potential futures, and whether you believe these are real or whether you believe it's imagined, just allow yourself to play with this and just see what happens. See if you can have a beautiful experience. Just enjoy the process. And so taking another deep breath into the belly and out. I'd love for you to use the power of your imagination, the power of your consciousness, and call in a version of you that is in optimal health. You could imagine them as if they're standing in front of you now, or maybe you can feel what they would feel like. However you perceive it is perfect. A version of you with upgraded health, optimal health, and just see, how do they look? How do they feel? How does this version of you that is fully connected physically, mentally, emotionally, and energetically, how do they navigate the world? Maybe you could see a vision just clearly like a movie. How do they walk? How do they talk? How do they interact with their family and their friends? What are their habits like? What do they eat? How do they enjoy themselves? What brings them joy? What brings them the highest joy? And if this is a version of you you would love to align with, if this is a version of you you would love to bring more into your now reality, you can just imagine that you have this GPS system, like a map like you have on your phone. You can just plug in where you are now as the starting point and plug in that person, that version of you as the destination, as the direction you can head in. And just press go, press start, and see that the cosmos will line up this path. It will guide you on what to do, on what things to let go of, on what things to do more of, the things to learn and the things to unlearn. And as you take another nice deep breath into the body and out, and just let go of any kind of way or how that this is supposed to be. Enjoy the process. Life is a beautiful journey. When we obsess on results and expectations and needing to know all of the detail, we can sometimes take ourselves out of the wonder and the magic. So if you can just hold that even as a possibility that there is a time where you can be just like this person, or even better, maybe even more amazing version. And if you would love to embody this version of yourself, you could ask your body to remember the feeling. Remember what they feel like. You could even breathe that feeling into your cells, into your DNA, like fill yourself up with them. Even imagine bringing that version of you into your body now and see how would they sit, how would they stand, how would they be? What's their body language like? What kind of thoughts do they think? And if you believe it, and I really do, you can start now rewiring your brain, rewiring your nervous system to this more optimal configuration. Maybe you can feel what it feels like for your brain to start rewiring itself, reprogramming itself. Maybe you can feel what it feels like for your nervous system to just relax. And we can set an intention now as we start to bring this process to a close that you can let go of anything that no longer serves you. If you'd like to do that, you can just say yes, physically or energetically. Ask that anything that no longer serves you is released, removed, and cleared across all dimensions, all versions of reality, and in all directions of space and time, from now to the beginning of creation and beyond. You can ask for that clearing to happen down into your cellular level, into your DNA structure, all the way along your ancestral line, your mother line, father line, asking that any decisions or programs that anyone ever made or that were ever made by you that no longer serve are transmuted into love, sent to the highest and best place for them at this time. And you might see scrolls, contracts, stone tablets just evaporating. All the things you no longer need. Just allowing and trusting that they are sent off to the highest and best place for them at this time. That those energies will be dealt with in the perfect way. And I invite you to feel what that would feel like to be even lighter, just like the hot air balloon. You let go of these things. And asking that you can integrate the lessons from these experiences in the most easeful, graceful, and beautiful way, so that you know in future how to avoid the same mistakes. You can learn from them. Use that wisdom to help yourself and others. And in Q-RIT, we call them the aligned actions. You can ask if there are any aligned actions that you can take to upgrade yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, or energetically. So if you take a deep breath in and out, and just ask from this very gentle, subtle place if there are any actions that are aligned for me to take to help me upgrade, what would they be? And trust the first thing that comes through, always the first thing. You can write these down if you would like to, or you can hold them in your consciousness. Maybe start making a little list. They might be completely sensical, or they might be nonsensical. It might be an aha, yeah, of course I should stop doing that, or it might be okay, wow, I'll try it. Just allow yourself to play with this and get out of the mind. Saying someone is out of their mind used to be an insult, but now I think it's one of the biggest compliments. Especially if you want to be a quantum Buddha. Out of the mind. I invite you to thank whoever or whatever you believe in for this process. Thank yourself for showing up here today, for tuning in. When you're ready, starting to come back fully into your body, bringing with you all the best things from this session. Asking for any final upgrades to be made to your body, mind, your energy body. Feeling fully refreshed and energized, coming back now, fully present. When you're ready, you can wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, open your eyes. And I just invite you, if it feels right, you can take a moment, a minute or two, to just be with yourself. Journal down anything that you feel is relevant that came up in the process. And welcome back. Wishing you the most incredible next chapter in your journey, whatever that entails for you. Hope you're excited, maybe a little bit nervous. It's a good energy to be in. And all you have to do now is be courageous enough. I wish you all the courage and strength, clarity, wisdom, insights to take the actions and live the most incredible life that you can. And if you do feel to, let us know in the comments, in the chat, what came up for you. Please don't overshare. You don't have to over divulge anything too personal, but if you would love to share any breakthroughs, realizations, experiences you had, I love reading them. It brings me so much joy.
Just taking a few moments to integrate. That was a really transformational experience. Thank you so much, Luke. I'd love to share a little bit about what that experience was like for me, and then I'd love for both of you to definitely share as well what came up for you. But I'll start by just sharing that for me it was actually overwhelming at first when you invited that kind of higher optimal health version of myself, because it was just like there's so much energy, it like overwhelmed me. It was like it could restart my heart twice kind of thing. That's how much energy that optimal version of me has, is as enough for 2-3 lifetimes. And I just really love that. That's something that I've felt like I would really love, is to be able to go all day and still have enough energy to do more if I wished. I've been really just tuning into the energy of so the kind of actually what happened was I got overwhelmed, and then it's almost like my ego, my unconscious kind of flared up a little bit. I was like, whoa, this is scary, and it was really I had to just kind of keep breathing and just keep listening to you, Luke, and remind myself I was in a safe space, and just say it's okay, it's okay, that is scary, this is new, it's different, it's an upgrade. That's the point. It's something I'm not used to, but that's part of the process, I think, to experience that and say, okay, maybe there's something there that needs to be healed. But definitely when I was able to breathe through it and bring myself back to presence, bring myself back to just being in the moment, looking at what that version of me looks like, what that version of me, the way he walks and talks and acts, just really, I could see myself doing backflips and, sort of running around the place, just like life of the party, life of the, I don't know, just full of energy, really. That's kind of just the general idea, the general vibe that is brought to me. And I've always wanted to learn how to do a backflip. It's genuinely a goal of mine to get to that point. And what was obvious for me to take away from this in terms of actions, the first step towards that is hydration. Is to actually just keep myself extremely hydrated, and the way that would serve me in being more energetic, having better sleep, being better control of my food, giving my brain what it needs, giving my body what it needs, that is lacking right now, to move in that direction. And that felt like the right step forward. I remember earlier I said that I've had some challenges this week with my training in my health, and it's been effortless up till now, and it was just very obvious to me. I was like, okay, like this is the direction to go. And the last thing I wanted to share about that was just kind of just being happy, really, to be able to put myself into that mind space, into that experience, into that energy, and experience what that version of myself is like, and remind myself that I can put myself into that energy at any time and embody that version of myself. Even if I'm still, let's say, on the journey towards becoming that optimal health version of myself, that doesn't mean that I can't embody that version. I can't, if I tap into that on a regular basis and draw what the obvious kind of steps forward are, is just going to take me to get there, basically. And for me, I very much believe that that's just, again, looking at it from the kind of quantum side, that's just a parallel reality that exists that I'm able to tap into. And I'm just becoming more and more aligned with, really. This year I'm training to run a half marathon, going up to Scotland in Edinburgh half marathon in May, and having that kind of sense of purpose has really made me feel really fueled to do the runs and do the training, like I said, really make things happen. And that's why it's been effortless, because I feel like I've been aligned. And this week I've actually been slightly less aligned, hence the challenges. But the reason to bring that up was just kind of, I was on my run this morning, and just really feeling like I remember being on a run like 10 years ago when I was at university and I was trying to become healthy. And at that time, I don't really feel a purpose to my runs. I don't really feel like, oh, there's actually something I'm doing here. There's something that I'm working towards. It really just felt actually kind of pointless and aimless, and like I wasn't having any impact on my life. Whereas this time I really felt that I had a purpose and a goal, and a way to, like this one run and this one random morning, was just as important as the day that I run that half marathon, for example, because it's me being present with that experience. And that's all that really matters, I think, is if you're being present with the experiences that you're having. And I think that was kind of helped me realize or understand is like, ultimately, we talked about what is healing, and I think it's removing all of the things that stop you from being able to be present, so that you can just be present and produce magic out of thin air by just being yourself.
Giving people a vision, a direction, is one of the greatest gifts we can give. And Ben, from his entrepreneurial background, will know most entrepreneurs, they have that strong vision. They can see the things that most people can't see. And so having that idea of this version of you that does backflips, I'm holding you for that, brother. And when you share it, we hold it for you now. Next year, when you do your full marathon and you complete that, you're going to end with a backflip, right? And we'll see you there. And I'm so looking forward to when you post that, and this, this idea of the overwhelm, it is quite important. Obviously, in a 10-minute meditation, there's only so much you can do. When I work with a one-on-one client, we do it over 2 hours, and we can be a bit more gentle, depending on where they're at. And on the free session, it's 30 minutes, so it goes, in a bit more deeper and gentler, I guess. But that feeling of overwhelm is an important one, because a lot of people are scared of their power. It's one of the most famous quotes, isn't it? Truly, we're scared of how powerful we are. And I see that it's easier to play small. It's so easy just to fit in and drink alcohol and eat crap food, and like to be someone who, like myself, who's sober, who's out there as a healer, public speaker. It's different, and I ruffle people's feathers, and I'm totally okay with that because you learn to like it. And one of the things when you do see a version of yourself that's different, really love on where you are now. If you have your GPS, if you have your map on your phone, it always asks you, where are you starting from? If you're in London and you want to go to Edinburgh, there's no point beating yourself up because you're in London. You would make the whole trip to Edinburgh absolutely miserable. You can enjoy that whole journey. You're like, okay, I'm in London right now. I'm here right now. My energy is this right now. I'm a 5 out of 10 right now, but my energy wants to go to a 10 out of 10. And I'm going to enjoy that journey. I'm going to enjoy the milestones. And a lot of people are so focused on just getting a result, getting an outcome, getting to a place. They don't enjoy the journey, because I love watching these people who transform their health by doing what Ben said, whole foods. I recommend that to everybody. I have a 14-day course. It's called the 14-day DNA Activation Diet. It's whole foods. That's what we teach. Just for 2 weeks, it switches on around 500 different epigenetic sequences. Just 2 weeks of zero processed foods. Now, for a lot of people, they struggle to stick to that, but the people who are committed will. And after 2 weeks, you see you're almost different person. And so people drop crazy amounts of weight. People let go of, because a lot of the fat we store is actually emotional. It's trauma, and it's almost like body armor that people hold. And when they do that deep emotional work, the fat goes. And it's this magical thing because they don't need to put that protection anymore. It's like, oh, if I'm fat, if I'm overweight, I won't get attention from people. I'll blend in more. If you're fit and healthy and you look great, you get a lot more attention from people. And so unpacking all of these things is really fun, and there's so many layers to it. So I recommend everyone, if you're digging this, like get a session with one of us, or learn a modality yourself, whatever modality you feel called to, because I've probably done hundreds, well, not probably, I have definitely done hundreds of sessions on myself. And it's always new things coming up. Just like Ben said last week, you had a good cry, you found another one, right? Another juicy one. It's like, I don't know if they ever end, but it's really fun enjoying the journey of becoming the best version of ourselves.
Yeah, I've went from like the person who would never cry in public to like being like going through all these different traumas one by one and doing it in front of people.
Yeah, I love it. Gives other people permission.
Yeah.
When I lived in London, I would get the tube to my job. I was working as a sales director for this software company, and I was doing these meditations. And sometimes I would start to cry, and I would have this choice. It's like, do I hold in the tears, or do I just let them out?
Right.
And I remember this feeling like it's true for me right now to cry. And a feeling that maybe other people in the tube would then feel like it's okay for them to feel too. So a lot of people just numb themselves. And this is one of the things we hear, we're like shaking people up, like, come on, life's beautiful, snap out of the trance.
Yeah, definitely. You just remind me of something that I said a lot to people. When I was traveling, I felt like I had a message to share, and that message was, you can't have a rainbow without rain. Being that, there's just as much beauty in the rain, and being able to appreciate that, appreciate the downsides, appreciate the sad times, the bad times, the hard times, the fear, the overwhelm, the loss, the whatever it might be for you, so that is equally valid as an experience, to be human, to experience that as it is to be happy, to be excited, to be, joyful, and those kinds of things. So yeah, that's I think a really important lesson. Like you said, that was true for you in that moment to cry. That's It's okay to cry. It's okay to experience those things. It's okay to allow yourself to do what is true for you. And I think that's what it is, you know, a lot of us have been taught, I think all of us probably have been taught to be a particular way, to, oh, you shouldn't cry in front of people, or whatever it might be. There's different kinds of things that restrain each of us, you know, that is our version of that. This is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do, here's the rules of life. And I like to remind one of my friends who likes to tell me, like, oh, you should do this or you shouldn't do that sometimes. I'm always like, there's no rules, bro. We're playing a game and we made it all up, so do whatever you want. Yeah. One of my mentors, Dan Hill, says it's all a game. You know, just play the game, basically. You know, like make it. And the point really is, like, you're playing the game anyway. Everyone's playing the game, and if you actively, consciously play the game, then you can make your life what you would love it to be. And if you're unconscious, if you're just allowing things to happen to you, then you're going to call it, what does that quote, Ben, if you remind me, you can, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you'll call it fate. Karl Marx. So, you know, it's really that for me.
I'd love to talk about some of the things people might come up against on their healing journey, because I think we've made it sound very sunshine and rainbows so far. And I don't want to lure you all into this false sense that, oh yeah, it's going to be great, I'm just going to upgrade my life and I'll just be the best version of me. Now, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Oftentimes that means looking at your shadow, your unhealthy habits. One of my clients at the moment, two, are looking at, are they in the right relationships? Because the people that they're in relationships with are slowing them down, weighing them down, even though they've been together for years. It might mean ending friendships that don't serve you. That's what I had to do. I stopped hanging out with all of my friends who were alcoholics, which was most of my friends, because I didn't want to go to bars anymore. When I became more energetically sensitive, it was so uncomfortable for me to be around drunk people. And you can see that a lot of them, they're playing out these things, and they're in jobs that they don't really love. So sometimes people need to leave a job. They know, you already probably know, if you're listening to this, if you're soul aligned or not, if you're like really on your path. I used to work in a soul destroying job, and I just knew, like, I was trading my soul for money. That's what it felt like. But having these conversations with people and managing these things in a way that is as kind and gentle. We talk a lot about easefulness and gracefulness, as easeful and graceful as possible. And there's something called conscious uncoupling, which is a way that you can end a relationship in a conscious way instead of just a breakup. Breakups is quite harsh, isn't it? Instead, you consciously uncouple. And you can do that with your job, friends, family members even. I don't recommend cutting everyone off and just ignoring their needs, because you might cause pain to other people. You might create more ease for yourself, but pain for others. And I know I've had some real deep meditations. I've lived with a shaman. I've been deep in all different kinds of ceremonies. And sometimes you get really taken into, in shamanism, we call it the mud. You're taken into the mud. You have to be with the muck. You have to really face your fears. That just came up for one of my clients today. They were scared. They had this sadness trapped in their body, and they're like, look, I'm scared. I'm scared to go into that sadness, because what if I fall into a pit? What if I struggle to get out of it? What if I get trapped in there? Because that's what a lot of people who experience depression feel. They get some kind of trigger happens, and it can take them days or weeks or months to get out of it. And some people never do until one of us comes along and snaps them out of it and does a session with them. Say, hey, come on, we can fix this. And there's something that a lot of people experience, which is called the dark night of the soul. And you might hear this get bandied around a lot. A lot of the people who are really committed to the healing path, and I'm not saying you have to experience this, because you might just have a beautiful, always light expanded journey, which is wonderful. I do know people who've had that. If you do ever get taken to the depths, to the dark night of the soul, where you're questioning who you are, questioning society, questioning all of the things like the healthcare system, the food system, the education system, I question it all. And I've cried many, many nights over the way that people treat the planet. I cried over the forests and the oceans. I cried over how we hurt the animals. I cried over what we do to people. These wars that we fund, these never-ending wars. As you become more sensitive, less numb, as you become more present, you start to feel things really fully, and that can hurt sometimes. You see your best mate poisoning themselves, and you know, hey, why are you doing that? And you keep inviting them to come to Super Genius or Q-RIT or whatever it is, right? But they keep making excuses. It can be a wonderful, exciting, exhilarating, beautiful journey. It can also be a challenging, frustrating, and earth-shattering journey. And I wish you all, everyone who's tuning in, the most easeful, graceful, and beautiful way. And the way I found, the best way I found so far, is to find other people to share it with. I love that you guys do this Sunday thing. I'm like, I want to do that. Where's my invite, guys? I want to hang out every Sunday, like talk through stuff.
Would love to have you join us sometime.
Yeah, you can. We sometimes just invite people in as well.
Amazing. Imagine if everyone who's tuning in here starts that Sunday support group for you and your friends. You know, just get together, whatever tools you have, and you all just support each other once a week. You could do it more than that if you wanted to. That's what we're doing with Q-RIT. We're building a tribe. We are a tribe. So everyone does session swaps with each other. And if you're struggling, you can just message in the group and say, hey, everyone, I'm actually in a bit of a hole right now. Can someone get me out of it? So instead of suffering for like 2 days, someone can get you out of it in 2 hours. And I think it's so needed, because we can seem crazy, can't we? Seem crazy when you start waking up and sharing all of this stuff. But if you've got other crazy people to share it with, or the wonderful weirdos, it becomes so much more joyful. So I invite everyone who's tuning in to go find your tribe. Be brave enough to share your truth with the people that you love. And I love this idea that people say it's not all sunshines and rainbows, but there are a lot of sunshine and rainbow moments. That's my experience. The highs are really beautifully high, and the lows can be really beautifully low. You can enjoy them. You can enjoy the growth that comes, like Ben said, when he sees one of his traumas. I'm a bit like, yes, oh great, got another one. Let's go. Let's dive into it. You know?
Yeah.
Oh yes, there's some hidden, we call them blind spots in personal development. There's a blind spot. Yes, okay, I'm gonna go into it now. It's like a little treasure that you find.
Yeah. It's like when you find a golden nugget in a personal development book, but it's the other way about it. You're not adding new information. You're gold mining. You're getting it out almost, or lead mining.
Yeah, there's so many things that you've said. I've got so many bookmarks.
Yeah, as Virr told you about the bookmarks.
No,
So,
I don't think so.
Ben and I do this thing where, just like we've probably experienced on this call, we to end up sort of being passionately talking about something for a while. So whilst you're talking, I might have sort of things that I'm kind of bookmarking in my head that like, oh, that's something that I want to come back to. That's something I want to ask you about. That's something that I wanted to talk about or expand on or whatever it might be. just so we can, like we've talked about, like hold the space, allow that person to fully express themselves, and then expand on points, bring, kind of jump off from different locations and, bring the conversation particular direction, or but really the idea is to be able to be present with somebody, listen to what they're saying, give them the space to say it, whilst also having that kind of ability to hold these things in your mind to come back to.
Yeah, it's trusting your intuition to hold and remember it as well. It's not using memory, it's using intuition. And when we're out walking, we usually do these conscious conversations when we're out on a walk and we've got our earphones in, so we don't have our notepads to write things down. So we're practicing the ability to listen consciously to each other, but when something comes up, without just interrupting and getting your point across, you want to like hold that and trust yourself that it'll come back to surface if it's important. And it's a really conscious way that Virr and I have learned to have conversations, and I've taught other people in my family and team on how to do the same. And we call it like marathon monologues. So like Virr will just go off on a direction for like it could be half an hour, and then I'll have like all these bookmarks at the back of my mind that I'm hoping come back up, that I go, that was it. You know, when you want to interrupt someone, but that's when you're being unconscious. When you're conscious enough to not interrupt them but hold it and hope that it comes back, that's being conscious in conversations.
Yeah. Talking about those bookmarks, there's one thing that you mentioned, Luke, that really just reminded me of something. So, you talked about this idea that you can tune into things like, what we're doing to the oceans and the world and that kind of thing. I remember a couple of years ago, just feeling quite overwhelmed by this like responsibility to the planet, basically, to feel that, we've got to do something about it. That's the wrong kind of expression of it, but it's more like we are there's no, my brother loves to remind me of the phrase, there's no one coming to save you, like there's no one else to do it, kind of thing. Like we are the ones here now that would be able to take on that responsibility to do something about the planet, to make changes in our lives, to make campaign towards particular outcomes that will help to improve the way that we are living harmoniously with the planet, more sustainably, to be able to actually live more in line with nature and be a part of the world rather than conquering the world, let's say. And yeah, I just, for me, the way I've kind of understood my kind of role to play at this moment is something like this kind of podcast and the kind of work that I'm doing on myself. I kind of look at it as I have only so much control on the world, and that control essentially ends with me. I only have control over myself. I can't change everything, but I can change myself. I can be an inspiration to other people by living my truth, like you suggested, by trying to be more conscious about the way that I live and trying to weed out things in my unconscious. So, both trying to become more conscious myself, more kind of attuned, let go of more of the lead so I can be more fully myself, but then also try and understand and learn to be more harmonious and with nature, like essentially be the example. That's kind of the phrase I come back to. It's like, how could I try and teach other people how to do it if I'm not doing it myself? That's the way I look at it. So yeah, just start with me, start with trying to, it's funny because I always remember the Michael Jackson song "Man in the Mirror." Always all starts with
You
"Man in the Mirror."
gotta make a change. For once in your life.
One of my favorite songs. It's incredible.
I start with the man in the mirror. Ooh. I think we're in a really unique time where we have technology now that lets us see what's happening in every country in the world. You can on your phone right now go to YouTube. You can see what's happening in the Amazon, the Sahara. You can see what's happening in the Antarctic. You can watch everything, and it's insane. It's beautiful, but it's also puts us under a lot of extra pressure that none of our ancestors ever had. Social media now, we have 5,000 friends on Facebook, and all these, and that's just one platform. And we've never had a time before where 5,000 people have access to your energy, right? It's like you used to have a phone book, and even our grandparents didn't even have that, right? And so, what an amazing opportunity we have now to be able to see what's happening to the oceans and to the forests and to everything. I believe we are, and this is what Gautama Buddha teaches. Gautama Buddha is the main Buddha that most people know from Buddhism. He says that we are a lot like humans to the earth, are a lot like the organisms that live on us are to our bodies. So every organism in your liver has a function. And those liver cells, they do what the liver cells are supposed to do. If they're worrying what your eyes are doing, they're not going to do their liver job very well. And so it's actually detrimental to them if they can start trying to be your eyes, right? Because they're your liver, that's their job. And I believe we're like that. If you zoom out on the earth, we look like these little tiny bacteria. I posted a video on my social media of people swimming in the ocean, but it's from a way zoomed out. We look like a bacteria swimming. And some of us are here to clean up the oceans, and some of us are here to reform the education system, and some of us are here to make podcasts, and some of us are here to be the leaders. And I think if you can figure out what your truth is, figure out what your mission is, what your highest truth is, that would be exciting. And then you find the other people. So all the people that are here to clean up the oceans all come together and collaborate. Amazing. All the people that are here to transform the healthcare system, we all come together. Amazing. And that was one of my biggest learnings, is actually switching off to the things that aren't my job. Having an awareness about what they are so we can work together as the whole. But I used to watch these massive documentaries about things that I'm just not here to fix right now. And it actually created more trauma for me, because now I'm like panicking about something I physically can't do anything about. And so it's a trap that the truther movement, a lot of us got into. Started watching a lot of documentaries about a lot of things that actually caused me more pain than I needed to be in. So I've taken a step back. And this is where meditation comes in. Like, figure out what your truth is and geek out on that. Become the best podcaster you can be. Become the best house remover person that you can be, right? Become the best whatever it is that you can be, and own your field in that, and magic will happen for you. You don't have to do everything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a lesson I've been learning this year, or the last 6 months to a year, that focus is the key. Finding your niche, finding your field, and just doubling down on it. The one that's working for you, and the one that you're, talented at, that you're passionate. It's aligned with your purpose, and just doubling down, like focusing on it and realizing, like deciding on something, because if you try and do like everything, you don't achieve anything.
Yeah, I spent in 2022. I remember I was like pretty burnt out with what I was doing at the end of 2021, and I decided every year I have like a headline of what is this year, and 2022 was the year of finding my ikigai, the year of finding my purpose, and that I love the idea of the ikigai. It's that combination of what do you love, what are you good at, what can you get paid for, and what does the world need? And when you find the intersection of those four things, that's your purpose. And it's very much why I'm doing this podcast. I realize that this is very much a part of who I am, how I can have a purpose in this world, to kind of spread this kind of learnings that I've learned, and the perspectives from the people that I have. I have so many conversations just like the one that we're having now. And the idea of this podcast just came from, hey, I love having these conversations. What if I recorded them and started putting them out? You know, and honestly, somebody said today was like, so you're going to, now you're back in London, you'll be putting them out every week, eh? And I said, you know what, that would actually be an amazing goal to get to. I would love to put one out every week. That'd be actually incredible. And so I'll be on the journey of figuring that out. But it's just the point to say that, you know, I think when you take time to step back from your life and really ask yourself, like, what am I here to do? What am I here on this earth to do? How can I be a part of the world in a way that's most true to me? That can really lead to magic. Like, I'm genuinely incredibly happy about doing this right now. I would not want to be spending my time doing anything else right now, because this is what I love. Just hanging out with some friends, talking about spirituality and the world and our place in it.
Same.
Yeah, I love it too. And when you can find out how to make that something you get paid for, so that's like the sweet spot, right? When you can be a podcaster and it can fulfill all of your lifestyle things. You become a digital nomad, right? You can go anywhere. You can go to Tulum and you just sat in a coffee shop and you just meet this amazing person and you jump on a podcast with them and you do some kind of collaborations. And I just met this social media agency a couple of days ago, and they basically line you up with different brands that you can then be a champion of. And so I was like, yeah, that sounds amazing, but it would have to be a really conscious brand for me to champion them, you know, and be like, yeah, this is awesome. I love what you're doing. So when you start building out your social media, and everyone who's tuning in, when you speak your truth, a few things happen. Firstly, other people around you get permission to speak their truth. Powerful, because most people have been shut down since they were children and told that it's not okay to speak their truth. So the truth speakers are very beautiful healers. Second thing that happens is other people go, wow, I think the same as you. Wow, I think the same as you. You start to attract your tribe. And then another thing that happens, if you are bold enough and brave enough to speak your truth, every word you speak changes the world. It sends out a ripple. People in Australia might feel it. People in Canada might feel it. And if you are like you did, you're literally traveling around the world, which is what I do too. You're going and you're dropping these ripples everywhere you go. Call it the ripple effect. Like upgrading the consciousness everywhere that you go. And when you make a podcast like this, if any of you decide to do that, you people who are listening right now, your energy field is sending out a pulse. So everyone who listens to your podcast is now sending out a ripple, right? They're all getting upgraded. And it's just the greatest fun. It's like a wildfire. It just spreads and spreads and spreads. And I call it the Great Awakening. It's the most exciting time for me to be alive. And thank you, everyone who's tuned in. It's been my absolute pleasure to share with you today. And if I can support you in any way, just let me know. Just connect with me on social media or something. Let's be friends. If you vibe with what we're talking about. And probably the most important thing I can offer everyone right now in terms of healing, look at collaborating with other people instead of competing. If we lived in a physical tribe and we all worked together, everyone would thrive. A lot of people in the world aren't thriving right now because a certain group of people are hoarding all the wealth, hoarding all the resources. That's not the new world we're creating. So if you can be a beacon of collaboration, you will be set and primed perfectly for this next stage of the game.
Well, that's, yeah, I really tune into that idea of like collaborating rather than competing. It's, for me, it's the only logical way to live. I think for me, it's really relevant. Me and Ben have talked about this idea of like, you know, the masculine and the feminine in each person, you know, being able to tap into that directness sometimes, that kind of ability to be stubborn and stand your ground, that ability to kind of be passionate about what you believe in, that kind of masculine side, and then the feminine side, the ability to be kind, be compassionate, be able to hold the space, the ability to step back and maybe admit you're wrong, for example. So, and what we've talked about is this idea that, the most amazing things come when you can actually embody both and really be able to be direct and compassionate, be able to be, have brevity in your speech, but also have kindness. And the reason I bring this up is just because I think that is what's needed to be able to collaborate, being able to say, here's what I would love, here's my truth, here's what I have to say, without holding back, without feeling like you need to restrict yourself. That's that kind of side of being able to say the thing that you want to say, but also being able to respect the other person, hear what they have to say, and be able to consider it, not maybe look at it as a knock on you, or not look at it as a slight towards you, but just respect what they're saying. That idea of respect, but truth, like that combination is what allows us, I think, to collaborate, rather than compete, because it's not, this is something that we talked about last week, Ben. It's not you versus me, it's me and you versus the problem. And that's, I think, what collaboration is about.
100%.
This has been really amazing to have you both on here. I feel extremely grateful. Is there anything else that you guys would like to share? Because I feel quite complete, actually, ready to finish up and maybe have you back on another time.
Yeah, I feel complete as well.
I feel quite complete. I did write down a bookmark for Luke. It's more just for newbies to quantum regression, and the word you used was epigenetic sequences. Could you explain what that is to me and to the world?
Absolutely. So there's a whole field of study in science now called epigenetics. And the old school idea of genetics is that they're fixed. You get them from your parents and that's it. If your dad was this way, you're going to be this way. Sometimes you get it from your grandparents. But what they've actually proven now is that your genetics change. There are certain things you can do that switch on or switch off different genetic sequences. One of those is your diet. So they do lots of tests on animals, which I don't personally agree with, but they do them. And they can see if they change an animal's food, it heals faster or slower. If they change an animal's food, it becomes more or less intelligent. And they can do these different things. So with humans, by meditating, by eating right, by breathing in a certain way, we can change and switch on our ability for deep healing, regeneration, our intuition, all sorts of amazing things, including like cancer prevention. There's loads of great stuff that can happen. And just 2 weeks of 100% whole foods, whatever that means to you, organic if possible, is a great place to start. But the sounds you listen to change and alter your genetic sequences, the lights that you have in your house, there's loads of great stuff you could dive into. So go and research it. I do include all of that in my 14-day course. It's completely free. If anyone wants it, just message me. Say DNA activation diet or something. me. It's completely free. It's my gift to everyone, because I want you to be powerful and awakened, because I love playing with powerful and awakened people. I love playing with people who are in abundance and in joy and in love. And I will play with people who are depressed and anxious and upset, but I would rather they come and work on that and then come up to joy and abundance and love and playfulness, because it's more fun that way.
Yeah. Amazing.
Well put.
Actually, based on Ben's question, I intended to ask you this, but I don't think I really did. What is quantum regression?
Amazing. So regression therapy is a common form of hypnotherapy. You can do timeline therapy. There's also past life regressions a lot of people are familiar with. There's something called spiritual regressions. Regressing is going back to the root of why the thing is there. And sometimes it's passed down from your ancestral line. I had a client who had some real money issues. And when we went into the quantum state, we saw that one of her ancestors was very wealthy and they'd basically been mugged and killed for being wealthy. So they've, again, with animals, they can see if an animal dies in a certain way, their offspring are then aware of that. Somehow it gets passed down in the genetics. So she was scared of holding wealth in this lifetime in case she got hurt. Now we let that go because that's not how we want to be right now. We don't want to hold on to that fear, but you can see why it makes sense ancestrally. What it means, though, if one of her ancestors was very wealthy, is she also knows in her genetic code how to build wealth. Like that's in there too. And so we can bring forward the positive parts, the empowering parts, let go of the parts that don't serve us. And that's the key of quantum regression. It's super simple. Anyone can learn it. You guys have both done it. The whole course is 12 hours long. It was a 2-day event that we filmed. And after 12 hours, you can take people on these processes and you can help people. Now, you do as many practice sessions as you want with the other practitioners until you feel confident. And you get that for lifetime. So you can, whenever you feel depressed or anxious, you can just jump in the group and they'll regress you, they'll take you on a journey subconsciously to find out what's the root cause of your anxiety or your depression or your pain. I just had a client who had a physical pain in their back. Like I touched it, they were in agony. 20 minutes later, their pain's completely gone. Like, that's what's possible when you play in the quantum realm. And quantum just means the energy realm. Quantum is the smallest observable particle level, so it's the energy realm. That's what we do. We help people upgrade, and it's so much fun. And it's the combination of loads of things I've learned: hypnotherapy, energy healing, shamanism, NLP, all sorts of good stuff. I just put in all the best bits and added my own stuff to it. And yeah, it's needed. It's really needed right now. There are loads of modalities, loads of quantum healing tools, but if you would like to come learn this one, just follow the link below. All the details will be there. And come join the tribe and come play with us and let's transform the world together.
Yeah. I just want to add on the back of that, you reminded me of like something I repeat often. I've got a massive bookshelf right there. I've read most of the books. I've read lots and lots of personal development, non-fiction, self-help books. And as soon as I came across super consciousness or quantum regression, as soon as I started tapping into the spiritual dimension to develop as a person or professional development, I always say, like, if people understand what Pareto's principle is, or the 80-20 principle, it means that like 80% of your outcomes, your results, come from that 20%. And what I realized in my personal development journey, this stuff that we're talking about here is that 20%. It's the 80-20.
Yeah, the fast track. It's getting straight to the root. I did conventional therapy for years and they teach you coping mechanisms, but they don't cure your anxiety. Why do they do that? Is it a conspiracy? Do they want to keep you as a customer for a long time? Or do they just not know how to deal with things in the energy realm? Because energy is science, that's basic physics. Physics is all about energy, right? And yeah, they're not taught that. They're just taught these mental tools and helping people in the mind is really important, but you have to clear it from the cells, you have to clear it from the DNA, you have to literally clear it from their energy field as well. And sometimes it's way deeper than what a conventional counselor, because counselors are amazing, and they go and they train for years and years and years, but they don't get taught this little piece. So I say, if you already have some tools, come and learn this piece, add it to what you already do, and you will be one of the most powerful healers in the world. Yeah, I've got a friend who plays football and he has very tight hamstrings and glutes, and he's getting these super painful massages, and they're like really working on the physical. And I did a session with him last week, and it was just like his legs were so tight. They're tight for a reason. Why are they tight? That's the question. Yeah, deal with the tightness in a massage, but why are they tight in the first place? And it basically showed him how he has to change this whole part of his life because he wasn't taking care of his this area. And it was so obvious. It's like, well, of course, that will create tension and tightness in my body, in my legs, which is then why I'm having the issues when I play football. So yeah, there's lots of different ways you can use this stuff. If you have any ache or pain issue, tension, tightness, if you keep attracting a certain kind of partner, if you've got money issues, like get to the energetic root of it. Don't spend years messing around. Like just come and, like you said, cure it, which is why it's called Q-RIT, cure it. Come and cure it in a couple of hours. Let's get it out, and then you can move on with your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the magic of it. It's like you said, the 80-20, it takes not that long to really go through the process and heal these things. That's something that might take years and years to even know that it exists. To even know that you've got that problem might take you years through other methods, but through this you'll heal it in 2 hours.
Yeah. It really is, like Luke said, the shortcut. It's the fast track. It just cuts out a lot. Yeah, it just cuts out a lot of the, I wish I knew it earlier, but I found it at the right place on my journey, and it like emphasized everything that I learned in the personal development. So there's not any regret on that. It just took everything that I learned in that and made sense of it all, and then emphasized it and gave it more power.
Yeah. So Luke, you talked about this idea of the tribe as well. I wanted you to just expand on that. Tell us more about the tribe and how it can be part of it maybe as well.
Yeah, I love that we all said we were complete, and then we can talk for hours, can't we? It's one of the beautiful things once you get with the like minds and the like hearts. And this has been a big calling of mine. It's one of my deepest things is to actually live physically in a tribe, like to live in a community, a conscious community. I've started several projects now to buy land and bring people together. And we got together a group of 30 families a couple of years ago. We bought land in Mexico and the first houses are almost finished. And we want to have these places all over the world where we can come and live. And with Q-RIT, one of the things we're looking to do as we build up the modality is actually buy land and build a Q-RIT village where people can come and actually live who are all at a certain level of consciousness. But for now, we have our online tribe because we have Q-RIT practitioners all around the world. And it's really beautiful. We do all sorts of events together, and finding the people who get you, the ones where you can be 100% authentic, it is the medicine. You probably know it when you're with your best friend and all your defenses are down. Right? They don't need anything from you. You don't need anything from them. You don't have to pretend anything. And you just let your fullness out, your weirdness. It's so beautiful. I love witnessing people who are like that. And you can be like that all the time. It's very rare I put my armor on and my defenses. I used to be very tightly wound, and now I'm super soft and relaxed. So I was singing at an event this weekend. I love singing songs about faith and devotion, and I saw this guy, he was dancing, and he was dancing so freely and flowy, and I'm like, you know, don't you? He's like, yeah, I know. I'm like, I can see you're so loose and flowy, and like, yeah, you're in your body, and like, we should be friends. And he's like, yeah, let's be friends. So we swapped details, and all it was, I could see he was tribe because he was so embodied. And there's this idea that everywhere you go, you can find your people, and we can all come together online or in person. But yeah, with Q-RIT, if you do join the course, become a practitioner, you can choose if you want to do sessions on clients or you can just do sessions on friends, family, or other practitioners. But yeah, we meditate together. We do sales training, marketing training. We have full business training and everything. Like, I want everyone in Q-RIT to be so abundant and so wealthy. And Ben came and did a training for the tribe, teaching all about SEO and building websites and all sorts of cool stuff, you know. And it's really important if we all share our skills. Because if you need lead generation and sales right now, like, go reach out to Ben, like, go say hi, like, you know, say, hey, come, and, or, you know, reach out to Virr and say, hey, can you help me, right? When we all support each other, everybody wins. And this is the thing that a lot of us are not taught to do, because our society, especially in the West, we don't even talk to our neighbors. We're taught stranger danger as a child, avoid strangers. Like, that's pretty intense when you think about it. If you grow up scared of strangers, when I first started my public speaking training, most people are scared to talk to other people. They're terrified to go up to a stranger and just start a conversation because of this programming from when they're a child. So we want to create a tribe of open-hearted, open-minded people of all faiths, backgrounds. Like, you are welcome, whatever you are, as long as you're kind, as long as you're on a similar wavelength, similar mission, you are so welcome in our tribe. And if you'd like any more details, just drop me a message. Let's get on a call. Let's figure it out, and see if it's a good fit for you. You all inspire me. You know, you inspire me. I love it. I see you doing your thing, and like, I want to start this conscious conversations for Q-RIT now. I'm thinking, oh yeah, because I've had that idea for a little while of doing some kind of talking circle, because I could just do that. You know, so you just told me that thing now, and I'm like, every Sunday or whatever day, I
Yeah,
could just open a Zoom and get everyone to come, and we could just all have a chat. Like, it would
yeah,
take me nothing. It's like no time,
yeah.
and this
It's
is
so simple.
it's a
And we've done it for
beautiful,
7 years,
yeah,
every Sunday.
amazing.
And it's been on mastery of, yeah, uh, the modality that we were learning, which is essentially super consciousness. Like, that's what we are studying and practicing and embodying. And we're getting it from super genius Joe Dispenza, yourself. Like, we consider what you're doing as super consciousness. So we're combining all these books and modalities and ways of learning that. But what Virr and I show up on a Sunday to do is talk as friends and have fun with it, like we're doing on this podcast. And this is exactly what it feels like. It's the same energy, and it's just vibing, like how people get a guitar out and they start a band. It's the same thing, but we're doing it through chatting, and we're talking about some deep stuff. I'm the philosopher and Vir's the scientist, we call it.
Amazing.
Amazing. So thank you guys so much. It's really been incredible, but I'm quite conscious of time, and I'd love to just ask you both if you have one last message you'd love to share with everyone listening before we finish up.
Every single one of you who's tuning in here, to me, you are one of the people on the leading edge of consciousness in this world. Like, what percentage of people would sit and listen to a podcast like this and do a meditation like this? Like, you are exceptional, if you don't already know that. And you can use that as you just go through your day, as you meander through your day. You are lighting sparks in the hearts of all the people that you meet. So they say one candle can light a million candles, and that's what you do. You're like a river nourishing everyone wherever you go. And the more you consciously do that, the more fun it becomes. So go and spread your beautiful light, smile at those people that no one else smiles at, care about people, like really deeply care, put your heart into whatever you're doing, and we will create a world that is beautiful, full of love and joy, and that our daughters, my daughters, your daughters, our grandchildren can grow up in, and they'll look back and they'll say, Granddad, did people really used to go to war? Did people really used to chop down rainforests or pollute the oceans? That doesn't even make any sense. Did they not know that we're all connected? Didn't they know that if you hurt the ocean, you hurt yourself? And that's what we're on a mission to create. And you're all a part of it, so thank you.
And my message is, listen to your heart. Like, turn the noise up of your heart and turn the noise down of everything else that's not serving you. And if you follow love as your guide, that's the GPS we were talking about. It comes from your heart. It comes from love.
Thank you both.
What would you like to end with? Yeah, what's your message?
Yeah, I'd love to share that, we don't judge a tree for, the way it looks, the way it, waves in the wind, the way it, you have, birds nesting in it, that kind of thing. We don't judge a way that a wave looks on the ocean. We don't judge the way that, a bird flies, for example. We just appreciate the beauty of the things that exist. So if you can appreciate the beauty of a sunset or of a forest or of a bird's song, appreciate the beauty of yourself existing as well. You are a part of that. So thank you so much everyone for listening, and come and find all of us online as well. We've got this Quantum Buddha podcast on Instagram and all of the social medias on Spotify, etc. Ben and Luke, would you like to share as well where people can find you?
I'm pretty busy on Instagram these days, but with Vir's help, I'm actually busy on all platforms. So TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn. Ben Laing. I'm very searchable. I'm a search engine optimization expert, so you should be able to find me if you search for Ben Laing, Laing.
Yeah, mine's similar. So my name, Luke Scott. Luke Scott's a world famous martial artist. He's Ridley Scott's, the film director's son. So if you search for Luke Scott the Third, Luke Scott I'll come up everywhere. So yeah, come connect with me on Facebook. I do a lot there. If you like memes and jokes, Instagram is futureproof_Luke. If you just search futureproof Luke, you'll find me. And my website is lukescottofficial.com. It has all my social medias on the top. Come grab me. And it would be my absolute pleasure to see what you do and see how you can inspire me. 'Cause I love seeing people creating content and all sharing ideas.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you both so much. Thank you everyone for listening, and I will see you all in the next podcast.